Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here today with a Toonami news update for today, March 16th, 2021. Let's start with probably the biggest piece of news, that being the announcement that Demon Slayer Mugen Train has a release date announced for theaters here in the United States. It is the highest grossing film in Japanese history, passing Spirited Away a little while back, and it's finally making its dub release here in theaters. It'll be released in theaters on April 23rd, and it will be, like I said, in theaters. And I was worried because there's this growing trend with theaters being closed that some people had the very bold idea to release it behind a paywall. Like, for example, Disney did this with Mulan with hilariously disastrous results, you know? And a lot of people are worried they're going to do this considering how massively popular this was in Japan, that they would do this, but it appears at the very least they're just going to have it in theaters. So at least it's not something as stupid or backhanded as that. And ultimately, I had heard rumors that there's supposed to be some type of panel today between Warner Media and Crunchyroll. So I thought, based on that, that we would probably get some announcements regarding the Toonami originals. However, I have seen no evidence of this happening, of even a panel happening. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I've got the date wrong, but I was looking forward to big announcements today, but it appears we're not going to get it. But back on to Mugen Train. It's basically, like I said, the highest grossing film in Japanese history at this point. And another interesting note about it is apparently what some people pointed out. I don't think this is a big deal. It is rated R. And just based on the TV show, on the anime itself, I could definitely see how a movie based on it could ultimately get an R rating. And a lot of people are making a big deal about it, and arguably so, because the United States, like what we consider like raunchy or taboo in the United States, is different from other places in the rest of the world. Like, for example, when I was in France one time as a kid, I was surprised to see naked breasts on TV. It's just a very normal thing there. And it's extremely taboo here in the United States. And to a degree, violence is treated the same way, where it's like, yeah, you can like be violent, but if you actually show gore, blood, or anything dying, well, all of a sudden the parents are up in arms and their kids can't watch it or something because little Mikey can't handle the concept of his cat dying, so we have to buy him a new cat or whatever every time it dies. Just wait for the kid to go to school, go to the pet store and get it or something. And there's some parents who unironically do this, by the way. Not mine, but some parents have unironically, I've heard of, done stuff like that. But again, I'm getting off topic a bit, but again, and is it controversial? And again, people also point out how throughout the years, stuff that's a little bit raunchier did not get treated as heavy-handedly as it does now. Like, for example, a lot of people point to something like Bad News Bears, the original 1976 film, where if you watched it today, you would think, okay, this movie has to be rated R. Some of the stuff that happens here, some of the stuff that's alluded to, there is no way you would let your kids just watch it willy nilly. But back then, it got a PG rating. No. And again, and also a lot of people pointing out, now we're talking about animation here, talking about Watership Down, which got a PG rating way back when. And a lot of people are like, well, today it wouldn't get that. And that's true. It probably wouldn't today. There's some real hardcore stuff in there that definitely would not get a PG rating. But I digress. Are you excited for Mugen Train? It's coming out, like I said again, April 23rd. And now on to the other notable piece of news of the day. It's Tuesday, so of course here comes Toonami's ratings for Saturday, March 13th, 2021. Let's start with the top of the block. At the top of the block, we have Dragon Ball Super at a 0.919. Attack on Titan comes back at a 0.19. The Food Wars Flash at a 0.16. The Fire Force is at a 0.13. Black Clover is at a 0.11. S. Gridman at a 0.08. Naruto Shippuden at a 0.09. And the Demon Slayer at a 0.09. Overall, this was one mixed bag of results this week we got here. Because when I look at it from Showbuzz Daily, you scroll downward. So you see the higher numbers first and then like the lower numbers later. So when I saw the highest premiere Attack on Titan at a 0.19, I was like, that's not that bad. It's a decent number. Not that 0.20, but I think this is the highest Attack on Titan has been since coming back. So a good week there. Then I saw Food Wars had 0.16. I'm like, a little bit of a loss in retention, but up from last week. That's a better number, and that's not bad. And I thought right there we're set up for a great week. And then you had Fire Force at a 0.13. I'm like, a lot of people already kind of forgotten Fire Force existed. It's at a 0.13. Same as last week, not a bad number. And then Black Clover came around at a 0.11, and I was like, okay. And then Gridman, I didn't even see Gridman first. I see Naruto at a 0.09. I'm like, all right. And then I saw Gridman's numbers at a 0.08. I'm like, you just want it. It's like you just can't find a way to not get built on by Naruto, can you? This is like I think the fourth separate time Gridman's been built on by Naruto. And here's the thing: this week you can't say about the whole 3 a.m. Increase in viewership from recording from DVR stuff because this week SSSS Gridman was after 3 o'clock. Because if you recall, this past Saturday night was the daylight savings time night, where at 2 a.m. everything got sent forward an hour, so it became 3 a.m. So, and a lot of people are trying to do these like fadangled arguments about like, well, that's why the ratings are down at the back half of the block. I'm like, if anything, it should actually increase it, considering that all these shows, so Black Clover and Gridman, both got the benefit from DVR this week and should have, but it doesn't look apparent here. They both drop a good bit, and it's kind of sad to see. And like I said, Gridman has turned into the lol cow of Toonami. It's never done well, and even though, like I said, and people thought at the time, well, it's going to fit in because we've had Gundam before. But even for Gundam standards, Gridman never really fit in with the rest of the block the way that any other shows have. Like, even Genlock kind of felt more naturally entwined with Toonami. And I don't know why this happens, by the way, because on paper, Gridman should work. It should work better in something like Genlock did. At least Gridman fits in better than Mach or Jimiseto Death Beats or whatever the hell that show is called. That shit sucked. That show sucked, and it's like the worst type of show that Adult Swim has, and they just threw it on Toonami. Oh, by the way, I almost did a news thing a little while back about how apparently there are rumors that they're going to put Final Spaces next season on Toonami. They didn't, by the way, but they kind of did a weird compromise where it's on Saturday nights at 10:30, starting on the 27th, which I don't know how to feel about that. I kind of hate Final Space. I know a lot of people who like really like it, and I've had people describe it as like imagine Toonami meets Rick and Morty. And at the same time, it just really from one of the few episodes I've watched of it, it just felt like you take the worst of Rick and Morty and you take kind of the worst of some of the shows, some of the aspects of Toonami and threw it in one show. I don't like it. But at the same time, it's interesting to see here again, back me getting back on track here. Toonami, a very, very mixed bag of results. Attack on Titan's the winner of the night. It matches up with Dragon Ball Super, which I think this is as good as Dragon Ball Super is ever going to do. It might touch point two, and if it can barely touch point two, nothing behind it's ever going to actually get there. Attack on Titan probably ran as perfect a score as it could considering the circumstances. And like I said, we're starting to really get towards the end of Attack on Titan here, and I anticipate Attack on Titan keeping these good numbers. It was actually the 9th rated show on cable Saturday, which is the best Toonami has done in a year or two. But this is because that Showbuzz Daily finally stopped treating every single hour of cable news as its own separate show. And also the fact that a lot of the bigger name marquee college basketball games were on network TV like CBS or like in or Fox. I distinctly remember watching games there. And that helps with less competition. It artificially raises your rank right that. And another note here, I almost forgot to mention about when I was talking about Black Clover a moment ago, is the fact that I found it interesting that the highest rated broadcast on Saturday was the game between Florida State and Georgia Tech, was won by Georgia Tech, because of the fact that I was watching College Game Day earlier in the day, and they had an interview with the ACC, I believe, Defensive Player of the Year, Moses Wright from Georgia Tech. And they'd ask him like a question, and they asked him a question like, "Oh, which TV character do you like?" He's like, Oh, I don't know if you know much about anime or a show called Black Clover, but I see myself as Asta. So I guess right now because of it, that makes Georgia Tech Toonami's team. Or you could argue that already since Toonami and Adult Swim's headquartered in Midtown Atlanta, which is literally across the street from Georgia Tech. That they're already Toonami's team, but I digress. What do you guys think? What's your opinion about Mugen Train coming to theaters? What's your opinion about Toonami's ratings for this week? Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. I like your comments. I appreciate your input. If you like this content, if you want more Toonami news content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am the Super Orange Cat, and that is all.